Hello, I'm Dr. Janet Nalbandian. I work here at Avante Medical Center. And today I would like to talk to you about how to properly collect a SIBO breath test. First, I like to go through what's inside the box or the test kit. Now inside, you should have a filled out lab requisition that should have been filled out by your provider and signed by your provider. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. Included will be test instructions, and of course I'm going to go through the test instructions today, but I highly suggest that you actually read the instructions prior to starting the test. Since you'll be mailing this test kit out, there is a mailing slip. And then of course the test collection tubes, and I'm going to bring these out. There should be 10 of them in the SIBO test. So there are 10 test tubes. There are labels for each one of the tubes. Now the labels require you to put the date, of course your name, the doctor's name or the provider's name of course, and of course there's 10 samples, so you're going to have sample 1 through 10. So you need to label them properly. You'll see the sample number and then the time that you actually collected the sample. We have the Laculose powder that you'll be drinking in 4 ounces of water. Laculose is a synthetic sugar, so this is not related to dairy, so don't worry if you have a lactose intolerance or a dairy allergy. Laculose is synthetic. And it is an indigestible sugar, and it helps us determine whether you have bacteria in your small intestine. So let's go ahead and set that down. And then of course we have a couple of sample bubble wrap holders. So when you're through, you're going to put these glass tubes in these bubble wrap holders when you're ready to mail it out. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is what is on the test kit instruction. Now it's very, very important that you read through this and understand what the restrictions are. Along with restrictions, there's a very specific diet that you have to eat at least 24 hours prior to the test. And then on the day of test, of course, it has to be absolutely fasting specimens. So let's talk about those restrictions. First and foremost, if you're taking a probiotic that's been suggested by your provider, you need to stop your probiotic at least 4 to 5 days prior to starting the test. 2, if you're on an antibiotic or you've just completed antibiotics, you will need to have stopped taking those antibiotics 2 weeks prior to running this test. Now, if you're a smoker, you cannot smoke on the day of the test. You cannot exercise on the day of the test, and of course, on the day of the test, since it's fasting, you cannot have anything except water and of course the Laculose sugar that you're supposed to drink. Now, let's talk about the actual very specific diet that you have to consume the day prior to the test. Now, since we're testing for bacterial overgrowth inside the small intestine, we don't want you to eat any grains except for rice. Rice is allowed on this test. You cannot eat any vegetables, any fruits, any nuts or seeds, any dairy, or anything that is not suggested on the diet itself. The diet consists mostly of animal proteins and either white rice or brown rice. The rice has to be steamed. Now, of course, if you're sensitive to any of the foods that are suggested on the test, do not eat them. If you're vegetarian, of course, you're not going to be eating the seafood or the chicken or the lean beef or the pork, but eggs are an option. So go ahead and eat eggs and rice throughout the diet. If you're vegan, you're going to have to eat just the rice, or if you want to, you can choose to fast for the full 24 hours. Okay, so prior to the test, that would be the day before when you wake up in the morning, you're going to start the special diet. You will eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you will need to have fasted exactly 12 hours prior to the test. So that would be the next morning when you get up. So when you get up the next morning, you can drink water, and that's it. No other food, and remember, you can't smoke. So let's talk about how to actually perform the test. So let's go ahead and close this up. So prior to starting the test, go ahead and prepare the Laculose sugar. You'll have to dissolve the sugar in 4 ounces of water. So go ahead and open it up, pour it in the water, stir it up, set it aside, because as soon as you get your fasting specimen, you will immediately drink the sugar solution. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out a tube. So go ahead and open up the plastic wraps, pull out your first tube. So remember, these are your collection tubes. Make sure you have filled out all of the labels. Put the date, your name, and your provider. Label them 1 through 10, and of course, note the time you collect each specimen and write it down. So let's go ahead and set this aside. We should have in here the straw. So let's get the straw out. So how to collect the actual breath test. So let's talk about the fasting, the baseline. You will not have drank your Laculose yet. You've reconstituted it and it's ready to go. Okay, so go ahead and open up the straw. Get it ready. Now, it's very important to understand that you're not going to be taking deep breath in and blowing it out rapidly. You're going to be using normal breaths. So you just normally inhale like you typically do. Put the straw in your mouth and exhale normally. So let me go ahead and demonstrate this. So uncap. I'm going to take a normal breath in. So I'm just going to inhale. I'm putting the straw inside the tube and I'm going to exhale normally. Immediately put the cap back on. Okay, now what you've noticed is I had the straw completely down at the bottom of the tube, and I completely exhaled normally, complete breath into the tube, and you will notice condensation on the sides of the tube. That is what we're looking for, and in fact the tube is actually warm from my breath. So I've capped it back up. Now don't throw this straw away. You're going to use it throughout the whole test. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my label on. Now pick up your glass with your Laculose in it and completely drink the Laculose solution down. Start your timer, because now you're going to start collecting your specimens every 20 minutes. So if you start this at 8 o'clock in the morning, you collect the specimen and you drink your Laculose down. At 8:20, you're going to go to tube number 2, and you're going to repeat that at least 9 more times. Tube 2 through tube 10. Using the straw, inhaling normally, exhaling normally, tube completely down, straw completely down into the tube, complete normal exhale, cap back up, and label it properly. Okay, so that's how you properly do or collect a breath test. Once you're through and they're all properly labeled, you're going to put your test tubes in here. So each one of these plastic wrappers are going to hold 5 tubes. Once it's done, you seal it up, so you should have them completely filled back up. Put them inside the test kit. Do not forget your lab requisition. Also, on this test kit, if you're paying out of pocket, please include a check and or there should be an area for a credit card. If you decide to do credit card, make sure you include the payment. Put the lab requisition inside the tube. Close the box back up. Remember, everything's in here. You're going to take your label. You're going to put the label on the box correctly. Make sure you cover it up so the box is actually sealed. And you're going to go to your nearest UPS drop box or station, and you're going to go ahead and drop this at UPS. Now, if you have any questions on how to correctly collect your SIBO test, please don't hesitate in calling the clinic. Thank you.